Hi, guys. So, we've been talking about fear and how to get rid of fear and what you can. Another technique that works for relieving fear is to focus on the physical sensations that you're currently feeling. Sensations you'll probably just identify as fear itself. Next, focus on those feelings that you'd like to be experiencing instead: courage, self confidence, calm, joy. Fix these two different impressions firmly in your mind's eye, and then slowly shuttle back and forth between the two, spending about 15 seconds in each one. After a minute or two, the fear will actually dissipate and you'll find yourself in a neutral, centered place. But remember, when you triumphed in the face of fear is the most important thing. So go back to, did you ever learn to dive off a diving board, for example? I did. It was Kirkcaldy Pool. I remember going on the first diving board. It looks okay when you look at it and you think, I could do that. And then you get on the diving board and look down and go, oh my goodness, I can't do that. The fear kicks in, but that's okay. That's a normal reaction. So did you ever learn to dive off that diving board? If so, probably remember the first time you walked to the edge of the board and looked down. The water looked a lot deeper than it really was. I could vouch for that. And considering the height of the board and the height of your eyes above the board, it probably looked like a very long way down. You were scared, but did you look at your mum and dad or the diving instructor and say, I'm just too afraid right now. I think I'll go and do some therapy on this and get rid of my fear. I'll come back and try again later. No, you didn't say that, did you? You felt the fear and somehow mustered up the courage from somewhere and jumped into the water. You felt the fear and did it anyway. I remember jumping off it was 11 years old, or maybe about 10 years old, and I was at the primary school swimming lessons. And we were learning to swim grade 4 survival, if everybody remembers that, diving down and getting a brick, as if you're going to save a brick from the bottom of the pool or the bottom of the ocean. But that's what you did to get grade 4 survival. And I remember going up on the very top board and looking down and having everybody watch me, all my friends looking round about and thinking, I've got to do it. I can't turn back. And I felt the fear and I somehow mustered it up. But I tell you what, when I hit the water, I didn't hit the water right because I panicked on the way down and I had a big red mark on my leg for a week. It was sore, but I did it. When you surfaced, and when I surfaced, you probably swam like crazy to the side of the pool, took a few well-earned deep breaths. Somewhere there was a little rush of adrenaline. Yep. And the thrill that having survived the risk, plus the thrill of jumping through the air into the water. After a minute, you probably did it again, and then again and again. I'm not really sure if I did it ever again. But I had done it, and my fear was conquered. Enough to where it got really fun. Pretty soon, even fun parks. I never used to want to go on big roller coasters. And then all of a sudden, I went to Alton Towers, and I went on one roller coaster, and then I never stopped after that. Pretty soon, all the fear was gone, and you were doing cannonballs, splashing with your friends, and maybe even learning how to do a backflip. But if you can remember that experience, or the first time you drove a car, or the first time you kissed someone on a date, you've got the model for everything that happens in your life. New experiences may feel a little scary. That's the way it works. But every time you face your fear and do it anyway, you build up that much more confidence in your abilities itself. So remember to scale down the risk. Anthony Robbins says, if you can't, you must. If you must, you can. And I really agree with that. I live by that. It's those very things that we're most afraid of to do and that provide us the greatest liberation and growth for us all. If a fear is so big that it paralyzes you, scale down the amount of risk, take on smaller challenges and work your way up that fear. If you're starting your first job in sales, call the prospects or customers that you think will be the easiest to sell to first. If you're asking for money for your business, practice on those lending sources with whom you want to get a loan from anyway, who you wouldn't want to get a loan from anyway, because, you're not really bothered if they say no anyway, but it's good practice for you before you get to the ones that you want to say yes. If you're anxious about taking on new responsibilities at work, start by asking to do the parts of the project you're interested in. If you're learning a new sport, start at lower levels of the skill. Master those skills you need to learn, move through the fears, and then take on bigger challenges. So when your fear is really a phobia, well, some fears are so strong they can actually immobilize you. If you have a full-blown phobia, such as the fear of flying or the fear of being in an elevator, it can be seriously inhibit your ability to be successful. Fortunately, there's a simple solution for most phobias: the 5-minute phobia cure, developed by Dr. Roger Canlin. It's as easy to learn and can be self-administrating as well as facilitated by a professional. So Jack Canfield learnt about this in his magical technique from Dr. Canfield's book and the video that had been used successfully at seminars for 15 years. The process uses a simple process but precise pattern of tapping on various acupressure points in the body while simultaneously imagining the object of experience that simulates your phobic reaction. And a lot of people use tapping today. I know a few, that do that, and it actually works for some people. It acts in the much same way as the virus in a computer program by permanently interrupting the program or sequence of events that occur in the brain between the initial sighting of the thing you're afraid of, such as seeing a snake or stepping into an aeroplane, or seeing, your physical response when you see a spider, such as the sweating, the shaking, the shallow breathing, or the weak knees you experience. When Jack was leading a seminar for real estate agents, a woman revealed that she had a phobia of walking upstairs. In fact, she had experienced it that very morning when, in response to her request for directions to the seminar, the bellman had pointed at a huge staircase leading to a grand ballroom. Fortunately, there had also been an elevator, so she made her way to the seminar that way. If it hadn't been there, she would have turned around, driven home. She admitted she had never been on the second floor of any home she'd ever sold. It's amazing that some people could be so successful, and yet that you would think that would hold you back. But everybody finds a way around things. Think about the people that go on to say they're completely illiterate. They're dyslexic completely, and they become on to be very, very successful in their fields, often become multi-millionaires. Richard Branson, Jackie Stewart, the racing driver. A lot of boxers have been like that as well. The only thing they know is boxing, but they're really good at it, and they make an absolute fortune as a result, because they can become perfect at the things that they do, and they practice every day. So she pretended that she'd already been up to that floor with prospective buyers that they want to find on the second floor on the basis of reading her listing sheet, and then she'd explore it on her own. And then she'd take 100 people, and then she'd actually take them out to the stairway. So this is what Jack did. He took 100 people, took them out to the stairway, and everybody walked up that stairway and then encouraged her to do it as well. And eventually, with no hesitation, heavy breathing or drama, she walked up and down the stairs twice. It was really that simple to overcome her fear. But you have to understand the mechanics behind it. And I'll see you tomorrow.